Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Pat's Travel Pass. Today, we are going from LAX to Tokyo, the land of the bullet trains, and we're checking it out in style, business class on Singapore Airlines' Fifth Freedom Route Direct. Come join us. As most of you know, we are based out of the Bay Area, so we have to get to LAX. And the Grand Hyatt SFO has been on our list for quite some time, so we decided to use some Hyatt points, check it out for the night prior, and catch our short haul on United down to LAX. The Polaris Lounge in LAX Terminal 7, you do get access because we're on a Star Alliance business ticket. It's kind of towards the back of the terminal, so we were pretty close to the entrance, had to turn left, and it's not this grand entrance that you get at SFO or Newark or even O'Hare. It's just this elevator. Takes you right up, but I'll tell you what, they've done a great job at creating a consistent feel, even with the touches of the doors here, the buffet. I mean, it really feels like, okay, yeah, I'm in a Polaris lounge. Even the food offerings, the coffee dispenser here, I mean, that is similar to SFO. So I really liked all the similar finishes, the chairs, the seating, the bar. I mean, everything was really familiar. Now, while this does feel like the SFO one, it doesn't even come close to the size. I mean, this lounge is maybe a quarter of the size, maybe a third from what it felt like. Far fewer international flights here out of Terminal 7. I mean, LAX goes to places like Hong Kong, Japan. I think there's a London route as well, but that's kind of it. There's not the crazy amount of long hauls that SFO or O'Hare or Newark all see, so it makes sense why the space is a lot smaller. Food options were great and had to kick off this awesome trip. First time to Asia with some champagne. Now, after checking out the Polaris Lounge, we went over to Terminal 6 and 5. Tried to get into the Maple Leaf Lounge, however, we were too early, so we ended up just going to the business class Star Alliance Lounge in Tom Bradley International, which is where you have all of your non-American carrier international flights. Crazy entrance hall here, as you can see. I mean, they got all the luxury stores, and the Star Alliance Lounge, kind of hard to find. Just go to the elevator and go all the way up to the 6th floor, which is pretty neat. As I mentioned, our ticket got us access to this. You can enter, but you'll have to pay a fee. First impression, a lot of people. I do like the vibe, though, with the lights and the seating. However, when we got farther into it, the less I enjoyed it. You kind of have this cafeteria-style seating to the right, and you're really on top of one another when you're sitting here on the left side. Couple cool amenities. You have a movie room here. Nobody was really watching anything. It's more for private workspace. After that, we're walking towards the outdoor terrace, which will have plenty of footage. Shower rooms here on the right. We didn't actually go in and investigate it, but seemed pretty empty, I'd say. So I imagine it could get busy at certain times when a lot of flights are leaving, but pretty nice to have that on offer. And here we go, the terrace. I mean, right around the corner here, you get a great view of Delta. Can't say that's my favorite airline, but you had a pretty nice view of all of their heavy aircraft here. This one going to Shanghai, that A350-900. Drinks on offer here, although I couldn't find a bottle opener to save my life around here because there's nobody out here. The best part, though, is the plane spotting for the arrivals here on 24 right. One thing I wish more American lounges had was a self-service bar. Maybe it's a legality item, but as you can see here, plenty of champagnes, wines. They even have a self-made cocktail bar, along with an official bar where you can actually order drinks. It was pretty busy though, so we stuck away from it. Now, of course, they have food in the lounge, and I will say it was very underwhelming. Felt very cafeteria-like because you have like the chocolate muffins, some wraps, some sad sandwiches. I mean, it just wasn't it. Pro tip: slip-on shoes. That's the new go-to when flying. Um, it was actually really nice to be able to just slide in and out as needing to get up from the seat. Here we have the self-service bar, pouring a gin and tonic, and for any of you that don't know how to properly make it, here you go. Gin in with the tonic water, and of course you got to plop it off with a lime. I know internationally everyone likes to do lemons, but here in America we like the lime. And back out to the terrace, and we get our first view of our 777-300 10-year-old Singapore Airlines flight. Now, because this is a fifth freedom flight, it does go from Singapore to Tokyo and then down to LAX and then reverses in the same order. So this is SQ12, and we will be on SQ11 from LAX to Narita. Seating on the outside here did open up as some flights kind of moved through. There's a lot of the Japan and Eastern Asian flights that leave in the early afternoon. Our departure time was 2:20 p.m. So we could see a lot of seats opening up as other flights on like ANA were leaving, as well as Japan Airlines, although they don't get access to this lounge. But you can kind of see the crowd thinned out in the terminal as well. Plenty of outlets around the seating. And here's a quick look at the buffet. I mean, they had cheeses, cheesecake, fruit, some hot dishes here that didn't look too appetizing, but I'm sure it could hold you over. I'd say overall for the lounge, I'm a little underwhelmed. Just kind of felt like not to the level that I would expect for, at least for a Singapore Airlines business class ticket or a Polaris lounge. So I definitely would stick with the Polaris lounge if you have time. But here's a look at our Singapore Airlines 777. I mean, this is by far my favorite plane. It's right up there with the 747. Just I can't get over the huge engines and just the length of the plane. We're departing out of gate 130 here at Tom Bradley. Boarding actually was pretty smooth. They had us line up by groups, and as business class tickets, we were group 2. It didn't feel like there was a lot of people, but I mean, you'll see the cabin is huge. We were warmly greeted by the purser at the entrance door, boarding through door 1, which was awesome. Here's a look at the first class. One row, 4 seats across. Felt very similar to business class in terms of the style and the width of the seat. I'm sure the offerings by the crew and the flight attendants are much more elevated, which is hard to do for how good Singapore flight attendants are. Here's a look at the main business cabin. We are in seats 16 and 17K here on the left. I wanted to get the best seat for the view of the engine, so that's kind of why we picked it, as well as being like 2 to 3 seats back from the front. But here we go. Gorgeous seat, just as we expected from previous videos that we've watched, just to make sure what we were getting on this 10 plus hour flight. Huge seat, good amount of storage here on the right with a little cubby, water bottle, headphones, slippers, pillow, and a blanket. Definitely felt kind of spacious when you're sitting upright. As you'll see a little bit later, it does get a bit snug though on your feet when you use the recline for your calves. So one thing that I did like about Singapore is that the seats all face forward, and they are all the same. So I really liked that just for ease of picking a seat. You don't have to worry like in United's Polaris. It's like, oh gosh, like odd is better, even, you're closer to the aisle. This, everybody's the same and facing forward, and then you actually sleep at a diagonal into the little footwell. So I kind of liked that. Here's a look at the controls. I wouldn't say it's ever adjustable, but you can pretty much get to where you're wanting to go with different leg adjustments as well as back. I do like to be a little bit more finite with the tuning, so other airlines have a little bit better on that. Here's the back of the seat. You actually flip that flap up to push the seat all the way forward, and that actually creates your bed, as we'll show later. As you might know, we here on Travel Pass love the pre-departure beverage. It really kicks off a awesome flight to come. Champagne on the ground. It was a very nice touch as the rest of the plane started to fill in behind us, and we really settled in, kind of checking out all the little nooks and crannies. Great spot here for the backpack storage, so you don't have to put it overhead. I really appreciate this, just to have easy access to your bag, and it's not in the way. Scrolling through the entertainment, plenty of options, especially for Western options. I mean, I had numerous choices when it came to what I wanted to watch in different genres. In English, I mean, it was, 5 stars all the way. Hot towel, which was an awesome touch, and then they rolled right into the safety video as we pushed back. Each seat here in business class had access to 2 windows, and I love that it's not like the Dreamliner where they can auto dim it. So was able to control my own destiny when it came to closing the shades. And out of the corner of our eye, we saw the great Emirates A380 single flight that comes to LAX. I'm watching it land. Awesome timing on this out of the right side. As we climb out of LAX on this gorgeous Wednesday afternoon, we got awesome views of Malibu here, and we settled in for the 10.5-hour flight. Reading lights here off to the left, you had plenty of options. They also did include complimentary Wi-Fi for business class passengers. It was pretty slow, but occasionally you were able to log in and check some things. No air vents here, as we know, on the Boeing wide bodies for non-American carriers, but you did have lights. Provided slippers at the seat, which I thought was awesome. Had to get those equipped immediately. This is why you bring slide-on shoes as well, easy on and off. Slippers were pretty comfortable, but a bit small, I'd say, for the average male. Here's a look at the bathroom. Loved how clean it was throughout the whole flight. They kept it pretty well intact. They had some lotions here, as well as real towels, which was awesome. Real flour here in the holder, which I thought was an awesome touch. And then they actually don't provide amenity kits, only by request. So in the bathroom here, if you open up the drawer, you have all your classic amenities like toothbrush, comb, napkin, razor, things like that you could need. So it's a different way of approaching it, but if you don't know, you would just never know to look. About 25 minutes after takeoff, they came around for your first beverage order. Went with a gin and tonic. They knew what it was, and they even asked, would you like lime or lemon with it? So we went with lemon. Here's a look at how close the front seat is when you're kind of reclining a little bit with that calf support. It was a bit annoying to have my feet not able to fully extend out. So just keep that in mind if you are taller. Warmed mixed nuts shortly after the beverage service, which I thought was a nice way to kick it off. Let's just say it right now, the staff were amazing. I mean, they remembered our names. They knew my wife was sitting in front of me. They remembered different connections and different celebrations that you were on the flight for. So that was all around, could not have been better. Tray table is really big, nice and sturdy. You can even elevate it with that button right there to go up and down. It was definitely difficult to get out of your seat though. So once you're in, you're kind of locked in. Now here's a look at the menu. They did have a pre-order option, so you were able to pick anything on this menu. I think it was a couple weeks in advance, or you could do Book the Cook, which had another 30 different options of food. So they had plenty of Western options as well as Asian dishes that kind of created this nice mix for whatever you wanted. They also had plenty of wines, aperitifs, beers, liquors, anything like that, and even a cocktail list, which I thought was awesome, because some people are just like, I don't know what you can make when it comes to cocktails, because you need all these different, syrups or sours, whatever it may be. So I thought that was a nice touch. Now, after the table was set, we prepared for our starter salad. Now, this salad was so tasty, along with the accompanied bread. Here's a look at my wife's plate as well. Pretty similar to mine. One thing is that they did put the dressing in this little plastic container. I thought that piece could have been elevated a little bit. They also came around with a trolley serving wine. So that part was a bit unexpected. I thought they were going to be more individual, what would you like to drink, go back to the galley and bring it out. But instead this was more of like the economy service where they're just pouring it out of the cart. Definitely more efficient, but just something that I noticed. All different types of silverware, cute salt and pepper shakers, butter. And here we go. Here's our main course. So my wife ordered a fish dish. Presentation was pretty solid, along with some wine. I pre-ordered chicken and rice with vegetables. And here we are. Presentation was okay. I guess it just felt like not a business class meal. I thought it was going to be a little bit more elevated. The 3 different sauces next door definitely help add a little bit to it, but just kind of, it was like a 7 out of 10, I'd say, kind of dish. Like, it filled me up, but wasn't anything crazy. Now, the staff, as I mentioned, or the flight attendants, were awesome. I mean, they remembered what we were drinking. They were asking how the meal was, how the wine was. They were really basically acting like a waitress or waiter. Like, it was top notch. For dessert, went with the cheese plate. Pretty nice offering when it comes to those sizes of cheese, so that was really nice to see. My wife ordered the fruit plate, which was pretty good, and then they came around with coffee and tea, and then your selection of chocolates, which I thought was really nice, similar to like that Swiss or Lufthansa service with the chocolates and coffee afterwards. Here's a look at some of the middle seats. They definitely are better for couples, as you are shoulder to shoulder. We elected to go one in front of the other just to kind of have the window and some of that privacy on the side. Now here's a look at the a la carte menu. My wife ordered the chicken katsu sandwich. Now, presentation, a little lackluster with the lettuce, and unfortunately the sandwich came out cold in the middle. So that was a pretty big disappointment, especially for someone as high caliber as Singapore. Here's a look at the bed. As I mentioned before, the seat folds down, and then you have this big rectangle plus the little footwell. So you do sleep at a side, or you could kind of pull your knees up and fit all on the rectangular portion. Now, if you want to see first class service, it's right here. This couple here were on their honeymoon, and the staff heard about this. They came out with a full piece of cake with string lights, and it was smoking some sort of dry ice or something like that. I mean, it was a top-notch celebration. Someone else had a birthday, similar thing. I mean, it was crazy, the level of detail that the staff were paying attention to. But after dinner service, or I guess lunch, we kind of hung out and watched our plane go across the ocean. Now here we go. I wanted to test the call button. Here is a look at when I hit the call button and timed, and let's just say the expectation was hopefully a minute, maybe a little bit less. and we are here at 17.6 seconds. It took them to come take my order for some wine as well as the cheese pizza, which it tasted better than it looked. Also, kept the wine going. Didn't actually sleep one bit on this flight. So I know people are like, oh, business class, like you want to use the bed. Honestly, wanted to stay up as much as possible to try and get on the Japan time zone as quickly as possible. Now, the in-flight map was a bit clunky. I think it showed everything that you needed, but I found it hard to kind of keep the information I wanted on the screen for a long time. So that part was a bit frustrating, kind of kept having to re-click through things and recirculate back to the page I wanted to see. The screen is controlled by this little handheld remote here. That was pretty easy to use. And yeah, we made our way over the Pacific, watched a few movies, hung out, watched the clouds and the ocean go by. Here's a look at the reading light above the right side of you. So you had lights on both sides, which I thought was pretty nifty. And here is the requested amenity kit. So like I showed in the bathroom, you have your dental kit, your comb, your razor, your napkin, sanitary napkin, things like that. Here in the amenity kit, all you really get are some lotions and like hand creams, things like that. There's nothing, I guess, substantial in here like the dental kit, sleep mask, socks, anything like that. I did like the little knapsack or kind of leathery feel of the amenity kit. That did kind of feel elevated, but really there's not much in there. Here are the items that you are able to request, like socks, slippers, earplugs, eye shades, hairbrush. So if you did want any of these, you could request them by the staff. We didn't end up doing that. We didn't need them. Our second meal service began here about 2 hours prior to landing. I will note, this has been a commonality on all carriers. They did not come by at all unless you ring the call button. So if you're waiting for them to come by and say, hey, would you like anything? You're not going to get it. So ring the call button if you want anything, and they'll be there within seconds. Now here's a look at our arrival salad. Really tasty again. I mean, the salads were kind of the highlight of both meals, I'd say. They also came around with bread as well as additional wine, which I thought was nice. Here's a look at the cart that they served the wine out of. As I mentioned, kind of would feel elevated if they did single service, but I get it, it's a big cabin. Now here's a look at the filet that I pre-ordered on Book the Cook. Didn't really like any of their options that they had. I think there was 3 in total, but this was off the Book the Cook that had another 30 options that you could pre-order. Obviously really great. I've cleaned the plate and paired it with some of the 10-year Kopke port that I was really looking forward to. They also had this kind of like mousse dessert that was really tasty. Great way to finish off the second meal service. We were landing into Japan around 5 p.m., so I would kind of take this as dinner. So we had lunch, slept, and then dinner. Kind of an awkward no breakfast, because I guess going to Europe, right, you're always going to get breakfast on that second meal. But I kind of liked having 2 substantial meals versus I know breakfast is usually not the popular one when it comes to airline food. But with that, we started to see the Japanese coastline come into play as we started our final descent into Narita. And we've arrived at Tokyo's Narita Airport. Now let's talk about how we booked Singapore business class. We each spent 103,500 Chase miles, transferred them 1-to-1 to Singapore KrisFlyer miles, and we're able to book this flight direct with the airline along with $5.60 in taxes and fees. So an excellent option to get over to Asia. Definitely on the more expensive side, as you can find Japan Airlines or ANA options for a little bit cheaper through United or American. However, if you want to ride Singapore and you don't actually want to go all the way to Singapore, this is a great option for business class. And I would say this is one of our favorite products that we've been able to try ever. So I would highly recommend it. There are a few other ways to book Singapore Airlines through Air Canada that can be a little bit cheaper. However, we didn't find any cheaper options when it came to booking this specific flight and specific date. But here you have it, Singapore business class from LAX to Narita. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.